In my opinion, there is a good way to list the contents of a directory in Python. There is a more useful way, and there is a best way, which we're going to come on to later. But first of all, we need to fill up this target directory with some files. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go, 10 files, absolutely phenomenal. Let's get on to our good way. So we're going to be looking into os.listdir first of all. So we're going to say contents equals os.listdir. And we need to put some kind of an argument in there. And the argument is going to be the directory that we're targeting, the directory we're going to be listing from. And in this case, it's target dir. There we go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to print the contents and run it. And as you can see, we've got our 10 files just as we made them. Onto the more useful way, we're going to import glob. We're going to say contents is going to be glob.glob. And let's try doing exactly the same as before. So just using target dir as our argument. And as you can see, it's not quite as we expected. It's returned a list with just the words target dir in it. Now, why has it done that? In os.listdir, you're literally listing the contents of the directory, whereas in glob, you're searching for the pattern in the argument. So what we're doing is we're searching for something called target dir, and glob's found that. It's found the directory target dir. There it is. But what we want glob to do is to find the files in that directory. So we're going to have to create a path that matches the path to all the files in that directory. You see, in that case, it's actually done it. And why has that worked? Well, it's because that star means all. So what we're saying is target directory / all. So we're really saying everything in that target directory, and that's what it's gone and found. Now, what's the point of this? Because that seems a little bit more complicated than os.listdir. Well, what if we had a file with a whole bunch of different files? A folder, sorry, with a whole bunch of different files. What if we had a bunch of CSV files as well? There we go. There's CSV files and text files. Now, if we search target dir / everything again, we get everything. But what if we just want the text files? Well, what we do is we say we want everything that ends in .txt. And that's exactly what it's given us. We could also do the same if we wanted CSV files. Now, we can't do that with os.listdir without doing something to change the list that os.listdir gives us back. So if we say file for file in contents, if the end of that file is .txt, then it'll do it for us, but that's an extra step, and we don't like extra steps in Python. But the list functionality isn't just limited to what's at the end of the file, the extension. We can also search for other things, so let's give ourselves a bunch more random files. And now let's search for files that have Tyson in them. Now you can see it's returned all the files that involve Tyson. Now that's the more useful method, but what about the best method? How could we possibly improve on that? Well, how about we now say contents equals glob.igob. Now what on earth is igob? Well, let's add the same argument in before. Let's say target dir / everything. And now, what's this? It's given us a generator object. Now what on earth is a generator object? And how exactly does that help me to know what's inside the contents of that file? Well, let's create a function, which includes the method that we're using as a string. And we're also going to take the contents of the thing that function returns as well, and we're going to interrogate it. And you can see listdir, in fact, gives us a list. Glob gives us a list as well, but iGlob gives us this generator object. Now, to get stuff out of this generator object, you've got to say for file in contents, print file. So you can iterate through it the same. It basically behaves like an iterator, which actually isn't that unuseful. So what's the point, though? What's the point of this? Well, to see that, how about we have a look at the size of contents? How about we look at the size of the object that it returns? So listdir gives us an object with the size of 376, as does glob, but iGlob is only 320 bytes. These are in bytes. Now, what if we have 100 files instead of just 10 files, or the 30 files that were in there? Well, you can see that the size of listdir in memory is now increased, and glob as well, but iGlob has remained the same. Let's make it 1,000 files. Again, we have an increase for listdir and glob, but iGlob remains the same. And that's because iGlob, remember, is simply the address of the generator. And that's because iGlob isn't actually the entire linked list. It's literally just the ability to load all of that stuff into memory when we need it. Now, when you create a list, all of that stuff is in memory all the time the program is running once the list has been created. But with a generator, it's only loaded into memory once it's needed, once you start iterating through that generator. So that's a lot more friendly in terms of memory. Now, there's another advantage to using generators as well, and that's in terms of the amount of time that they take. So how about we write something in here to deal with that? Typing noises. Now you can see that iGlob is 3 times faster than the other two methods. Now, in fact, listdir is quicker than glob, as you can imagine, because glob is actually doing more. Glob's actually doing some searching as opposed to just getting everything. So which is the best? Well, if you're just doing simple things with not very many files, then, you know, by all means, os.listdir is great. But as soon as you want to search through files, then it's much more convenient to use something like glob. But as soon as you're dealing with lots and lots and lots of files, then iGlob is the clear winner.